Hi, I'm Mary Spender and welcome to part one of my new studio tour, which is brought to you by Made.com. If you hadn't noticed, earlier this year I moved and split my life in two. I used to have a home studio, but since moving into a one-bedroom flat, I had to look elsewhere for a designated workspace, and voila, I found this room. When I first got here, it was a blank canvas and rather empty, as you'll be able to tell from the first video I shot. Oh, hi. Welcome to my new studio. And yeah, it's taken some time to get it right, but now I get to show you what I've done, and actually, I had some help. My friend Daniel Titchener, London-based architect and YouTuber, connected me with Made.com to be part of their series Made Over, but with a twist, where Daniel chose the furniture for me. After months of knowing each other only through Zoom, I finally got Daniel down here and showed him the finished result. Welcome to my studio.
Loving it.
You helped design it. What do you think? It's not very minimalist.
I'm very, very impressed. It's nice, it's cozy, and I think you've done a great job.
When designing a new space, you want it to be aesthetically pleasing. So first thing to think about is palette.
So if you have, a certain colour that you want to work with, or a certain feel that you want to go with, you always want to restrict your palette to, I always pick around 5 different colours or tones. And I think once you do that, it makes sure that everything is working together in a way that is comfortable and doesn't feel garish, because you may like several different items, but if one is orange and the other is, pink, it's probably not going to work well in the space, even if you love both of the items. And I think that's why it's so crucial whenever you're picking furniture to really put it all on one page and then figure out if these colours and tones are complementing one another. So that was the initial thing, I think, before anything else.
The main focus of this room will always be my guitar collection. They'll always provide different colours and they're subject to change. So for everything else, I wanted to keep it neutral. A lot of my music and film equipment is black, space grey and cream, and some of it has a wood effect. So I continued with those tones and then added blue with the sofa, which is probably my favourite item in the whole studio. This is the Zarina. It's a large 2-seater in Aegean blue with black legs, and it's honestly too comfy sometimes. And yes, I've already had a nap or two in here. It looks so good and it's brilliant for guests. I didn't have a good seating arrangement to chat with other creators or friends in the old place, and it really makes a difference. The sofa just puts everyone at ease. It's also perfect for sitting down and writing songs with my guitar in hand, which is a little bit more relaxed than sitting in a desk chair. It's sleek and doesn't take that much space, comes with the bolster cushions, and obviously it adds density to the room, which helps with sound, and that leads me on to the carpet.
If you already have carpeted floor, it really helps in, absorbing the sound. Obviously, as a musician, you know that. And then having something which is a higher pile does even more. But even in terms of breaking up the space, like furniture, if you place it in the middle of a room without a rug, sometimes it can kind of look like it's just floating and sitting there in the space, and it can make a space feel like it's not finished, or it might feel a little bit less homey. And that's something I actually realised in my apartment. When we first moved in, we decided not to have a rug, but it does make the space a lot more echoey and it feels a lot less homey. So when you put a rug in with a lot of texture and a little bit of pattern, it kind of helps to warm up the space, not only in terms of the way it feels, but then I think also in the way that it sounds, not just for music, but in terms of how your voice echoes through the room. And that's why some spaces can feel incredibly cold, because when you're in there, if you're in a big mansion, sometimes they can feel incredibly cold and uninviting, just because your voice is projecting throughout the space and it's bouncing off all of these high ceilings and all of these harsh walls, but there isn't any softness to kind of absorb that sound. And really, as an architect, it's very easy for us to overlook sound because it's not something that we see, but actually it has a big impact on the way that you feel in a space. So hands down, having a rug in a studio space, crucial, and in a home too.
The rug, the Tonus, really completed the studio in terms of look, which is graded and goes with the grey and blue theme I've got going on, but also it made such a difference in sound, even on top of the existing carpet. When you walk in from the outside hall, it feels like a fully treated music studio, which it isn't. It's also super soft and easy to clean and just ties the room together really nicely.
Like, you have an understanding of, you know, colour through filming for a period of time. You know that like teal and orange works together really well. So you've got, you know, the blue sofa working with the warm tones of the wood, and you know that that as a palette works incredibly well. And then the same, you know, with the lighting, you've got the blue and then the warmth of the lamps. So you've got all of these things kind of like working together in a way where less is actually doing a lot more.
I don't like overhead lighting one bit, so actually I've unplugged the ceiling lights and instead have these two Cohen lamps in deep grey and American oak, one table and one floor. They work on camera too as practical lamps and brighten up certain areas of the space in my background. Vibey. Space was limited once I got all my guitar gear in here, but I managed to get a little bit of storage by using the Hopkins sideboard in walnut and grey. Clean, sleek, and it fits a lot in and under, as well as being useful to put some items I want quick access to on top.
That's something that I talk about, you know, a lot in terms of small spaces. You know, I think as human beings, our tendencies are to buy our way out of problems. It's kind of like we think if we have more, we will do better. It's kind of like getting into YouTube. You think, oh, if only I had that camera, like everything would be sorted. Or if only I had that boom arm or that new piece of equipment, everything would magically be fixed. But a lot of the times that isn't the problem. And actually what the problem is you applying your knowledge of a specific area in a way that can utilize what you have in the most efficient way. And a lot of times you actually end up with a much better result. And I think, you know, spaces like these are a prime example. You know, somewhere that is smaller, that is curated really nicely. It means that you don't have to clean as much. You're obviously saving, you know, a massive amount on rent. When you're refurbishing it, it doesn't cost as much. But then, you know, in order to do that, you have to control yourself in a way that you curate everything that you have in a very careful way.
The layout took some time. It's a slightly larger room than my old place, but my oh my, does music and film equipment fill a room quickly, and a space like this that's still pretty cozy takes careful curation to get it feeling right. It's awesome to walk in and immediately see a professional looking space, and creating a nice backdrop for my videos was my main priority. So in part 2, I'll be concentrating on the gear I'm using to make said music and videos, as well as the wall art I'm super proud of, so feel free to ask me questions in the comments below and we can get technical. But massive thanks to Daniel Titchener, who you should definitely subscribe to, links below, and May.com, all the furniture will also be linked below. Thanks to them for helping me kit out this room.
My channel is all about small spaces, maximizing the most out of what you have in order to have a space that can do 10 times what it would typically, just by careful architectural considerations and through the use of furniture. And that's why I think originally in my first video I had one table from Made.com, which is absolutely amazing. It completely transforms, so it works a bit like an ironing board. So when you pull a lever, you can change it from coffee table height to dining table height. So if you're in a tiny space, you know, it's amazing. You have 2 tables in one, but it's only taking up the footprint of whatever you want it to be at the time. So I had that in my first video, loved it. Made reached out and they were like, we'd love to work with you. And we did an entire makeover of that space to fill in really all of the holes that I think I had overlooked in that first apartment. Talking about a few of those things that we spoke of earlier in terms of, you know, adding warmth to the space, really kind of playing with the colour palette a little bit more to make it a bit more homey and cosy. And after doing that, when you reached out, it just was a light bulb moment. I was just like, this is a project that Made would really be interested in, and it would be really great to have Made furniture in this space because they just produce some really awesome stuff, and they were amazing to work with. So yeah, it just felt like the perfect opportunity. You were redoing your apartment, I had recently redone mine, and Made were just there to help out along the way. It was really good.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, comment below with any questions for part 2, and my Patreon supporter of the day is Lillian Buckley. Thanks Lillian, and all my Patreon lovely people, but otherwise I'll see you very soon.
And then, you know, through your guitars, you know, the colours, like, they can get quite bright, can't they?
They can.
Talk about some of the guitars you have.
Well, I've got this bright orange St. Vincent Ernie Ball Music Man that I remember when you first saw it, it kind of gave you heart palpitations in there because you were really nervous about where I was going to put it. You're like, if you're putting that in your living room, please don't. He was like, you should just keep that one in the case. I'm like, this is like a collector's item. I'm going to display it.